Dive into the ocean's hope at the fading of the day. Aquatic kaleidoscope, see the colors sweep and sway. Down in the deep, deep blue, rebuilding my world anew. Waves keep on washing over me. Swim up, glide into the open. Cool are the currents of the sea. Swim up, deep into the ocean. I carry the means to mend amid the fathoms and the foam. This ocean, it has no end, and I'm a long, long way from home.
Good morning, friends, and welcome to another painting stream. 'Tis I, Andrew, also known as Thanatos, and this is my painting stream where I paint miniatures. For the last week and a half, I have been working on the Warcry demo for the store. I'm working on these Untamed Beasts, and we're pretty much on schedule, I believe, to complete these by the end of this week. So by the time we hit Friday, finishing Friday, hopefully we'll be able to put finishing touches on all 9 of these, or at least some of these. We have 2 figures left, and let's go to overhead cam here. We have 2 figures left that we want to finish the base coats on. It is this one here. Just needs a few little details to finish the base coat. And this one here. I'm also going to work on bases today, so base coating and bases. My hope is to get all 9 bases textured and add a prime layer to the texture on the bases so that tomorrow I can do a little bit of painting on the bases when I go in to do washes on all these figures, and that will get us a lot closer to done. We're getting there. So yeah, let's get right to it. I want to get started with bases because I think that's my priority. So I've decided for these bases that I'm going to do all beast skulls for the ones that are going to have skulls on them. So let's consult my big boxo skulls, so many skulls, and grab some beast skulls. I don't want to go overboard with the skulls on these guys. I've decided as well, many of these beast skulls are rather large for bases of this size, so I don't know how well this is going to work. Let's see. Because I've got lots of humanoid skulls. Ooh, there's a bird skull. We can use a couple bird skulls. Yep. We've got these skulls with horns here. Yeah, we've got options. Let's just... I'm not going to go wild with the skulls, but maybe just a couple here and there to spice it up the bases. I've decided to try my hand at flocking on these bases. So I haven't done... I guess I've done it once, like adding flocking to a base. Unless you count these Cyclops skulls, I'm trying to decide. Unless you count snow, because I've got snow on the bases of my Tau. But I figured I got myself some spring sort of themed flocking. Will help to distinguish these figures from the other beasts that I've got. The chaotic beast figures. Looking for some good skulls. If you don't already have a Citadel box of skulls, I highly recommend it. Just so much fun to play with. Alright, there's a few skulls. Let's trim down the sprue lines and get them set to go on bases. I don't want to spend over much time on this. Just kind of want to get a little bit done. Oh my goodness. Okay. My hobby is the question. There we go. You know what, I might just cheat with this guy. No, I'm going to want that horn sticking up, so I do need to trim this a little bit. Whew. Oh. This skull, very expressive. Figure this will go on the lion's face. That's a big skull. The lion's face is a huge empty area. It's something. I'm wondering if I should add a little green stuff to a couple of the bases to give them a less flat appearance. I'll probably do that quickly as well. So, also going to sand down a couple of these. So that I can make them flush with the base. Ooh! Almost lost that. This one at an angle, I think. Good morning! How's it going today? I'm just going to be putting some skulls on bases today. So I figure that's a fun thing I can do. I appreciate the follow very much. BP32391. Someday, I'll get rid of that default follow. Let's put this at an angle when I put it down on the base. Okay. Oh, excellent. Bird skull. Yeah, so tiny to work with. And I've got big stubby hands. So we are getting ever closer to our follow goal. Oops, there, follow goal. Eventually, we'll get ourselves to affiliate and I can start adding sub badges and stuff like that. We're getting closer, folks. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I'm also making plans for painting or art social day, which is happening on the 31st, on Memorial Day. So I hope folks will be able to join us for that. Alright, so we've got some skulls. I'm gonna get some green stuff. Is that an unopened? That's an unopened thing of green stuff. I don't want the ones I've already opened. I don't know why I have so many things of green stuff. Got like 4 or 5 boxes of green stuff lying around my painting nook. It's not like it goes bad. Warhammer 1004. Welcome. Thanks for putting down roots with us. Welcome, welcome. This is great. We're gonna get to affiliate, folks. We're gonna make it. We're gonna hit that goal. So for the green stuff, I'm not sculpting or doing anything. I'm just, I just want a little something to make the bases less flat. So we're just gonna stick some random lumps onto our bases so that they have some personality. Do I have a dedicated hobby space? I do indeed. So I am in the guest room of the new apartment that my wife and I moved into mid-pandemic last year. And when we moved in, we dedicated the guest room as a cat-free space. So this is the only place in the apartment that the cat is not allowed, because we want to be able to have guests who have cat allergies and such. I'm just going to pinch off some small bits of green stuff and sort of mash them onto the bases to give them some little mounds so that they're not so flat and uninteresting. I think this one needs a skull. So yeah, I have this guest room, and it is an excellent space for hanging out with painting supplies and stuff, because there's less risk, not no risk, but less risk of getting cat hair in everything. Cat hairs happen. It's definitely something that, even with a somewhat cat-free area, cat hairs do manage to get in here. But I have a corner of the guest room that is my painting nook, and is just covered in painting supplies and figures that I'm working on. I've posted pictures of it occasionally to my Discord. So if you look back in the Discord, you may be able to find a picture of my painting nook. But it is not a well-organized space. Especially right now, I've got paint out everywhere. Doesn't matter if this looks good. Quick tip for working with green stuff: if you soak your tool in water, it's less likely to get stuck to the green stuff. What was I talking about? Talking about the guest room? Here's that lion. So yeah, it is good to have a cat-free space. Does not mean that I never have cat hairs. Probably once a day, a cat hair makes it into my paints. If you've been watching, you've noticed that. Stick this beast skull in here. So a word about composition on bases. When I started out several weeks ago, adding stuff to my bases, at that time I was doing the bases for my Raptorix. This was about 4 weeks ago. These folks here. And when I was adding stuff to the bases, I put it in sort of randomly, like this shield here. You can see how it's angled into the terrain like that. I have decided that doing things randomly, while it might be accurate to the spirit of the battlefield you're trying to create, doesn't actually work always with the way that the models are sculpted. So I chose to angle this skull so that it sort of reinforces the motion of the model. It may not be as random as it could be, but it's a part of the model because it's in the base there. So it makes sense that it sort of... Yeah, I had so much fun with these Raptorix. They came out really well. So the whole process for these was that I had just gotten these metallic paints. These are Metal and Alchemy paints that I special ordered. And I was like, I want an excuse to use some of these Metal and Alchemy paints. So I started messing around on the wings for these. And then I was like, if I'm going sort of tropical bird flair, I should go for a tropical birdish look to the rest of it. Initially I had yellow beaks and it just didn't work. So I went and made them darker. But yeah, that was a lot of fun to do. The other thing that I've been working on lately are these Furies. And you can tell I kind of went hog on their wings. Again with the Metal and Alchemy paints. I'm reasonably happy with them. They need some work. They need a little bit of work. I've only got one of the Furies that is in a mostly complete state. And even so, I'm not 100% on some of the choices I made with the paints there. But it looks fine. Anyways, that's not what we're working on. This guy has a big old hunk of terrain that he's standing on, so I don't think I'm going to add any skulls or anything to his base. This base is very plain. It's something. This is Goofy Eye guy or gal. I need to go in and fix that. I'm not super happy with the way those eyes came out. Part of what this stream is all about is trying new techniques and learning new ways to do things with paint. And definitely I have not had much practice in the realm of putting eyeballs on figures. A notoriously difficult thing to do. So I am not alone in this. But yeah, I need some practice. Need some practice. I think this guy needs a skull. What do you folks think? He's gonna get a skull. So I don't want to spend too much time on these bases. I just wanted to get a little bit of something on them to make them less plain. Before I start texturing the bases. There's my first cat hair of the day. Got it. He's gonna get a bird skull. Too weird. The skull is looking the same way he is. I don't like that. It's twisted a bit. Good enough. Two more. So yeah, I'm going to do an attempt at flocking with these bases, something I have not done before, so that'll be part of Friday's stream, finishing Friday. So I'm going to try and do some flocking on the bases for these. Doing a sort of springtime meadow look. So we're going to add some meadow flocking. Try to make them look, because I want to contrast to, like, the Raptorix and Furies I've done a very sort of battlefield mire look. I need to add some tufts to those just to make them less blah. But I'm trying to keep each army's base very distinct, so that when you're looking at them you get a good sense of which army they are. Just instantly glancing them from afar, you get an idea of which army it is. Do I use contrast paints? I have not experimented with contrast paints yet. My wife has used them sparingly, mostly the Apothecary White she quite likes, because whites are hard to work with, so she enjoys having a quick and easy way to deal with that. But I have not experimented much with contrast paints. That'll be something for a future stream. Alright, so this is that skull with the big long horn. Just gonna stick it in there. Perfect. Excellent. Alright, so that's all the skulls and stuff on the bases. Now, for the fun part. So, just quick background. I briefly said it already, but my painting stream is all about me learning to paint and experimenting with new techniques and trying to refine my style and stuff. So definitely contrast paints are something I'm going to be working with at some point in the future. However, I have a number of different projects that I'm working on, and I'm trying to sort of slowly layer in new techniques. Like these folks, I'm going to be doing stuff with the bases. I'm going to be experimenting with flocking, which is something that I'm not as comfortable with or familiar with. but I'm sort of slowly adding new techniques to my portfolio. I have some ambitious plans for things that I want to do. The end of this month, for Memorial Day, and I did say I was going to talk about this a little bit, I'm going to be doing a art social day with the stream. And the idea is that if you jump into my Discord, and I'll put a link to the Discord in the chat right now, but if you jump into my Discord, you can post pictures there and I will feature them on the stream. We're going to open up the Discord voice chat and have it feed to the stream so that folks can hang out and chat with me while I paint. And I'm going to be working on this, which is a free demo piece that you can get from your friendly local game store. If you go to Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington, we have about 100 of these. Just a Stormcast Eternal figure. And I'm going to be experimenting with learning a couple new techniques. I want to try and give his robes a sort of velvety look. So we're going to see what I can do in terms of learning to make it look velvety. And I'm also going to be experimenting with NMM, non-metallic metal. So we're going to use matte paints to try and make it look as if it is shiny and glossy, mostly in the shield here. And we're going to do some light sourcing. I'm going to make his hammer into a light source. So I've got some ambitious plans for this piece. And if you join me on Memorial Day on the 31st, we're going to see what we can do in terms of learning some new techniques and just hanging out with the community and chatting and having a good time and highlighting everybody's art. So that's going to be a lot of fun. In the meantime, let's finish these bases so that I can get back to painting. I'm just adding some wood glue to the bases. And we're going to use my brush that is no longer a brush. This used to be a perfectly good large dry brush, but it is now just a plank. I have used it extensively for wood glue, and it is no longer good as a brush, but it works perfectly well for smearing glue onto a base. So this is super simple, very basic. We're just going to grab some glue, we're going to smear it around on the base, and then we're going to add some basing texture, some grit. I want to give this time to dry, like add some basing texture to all of these figures and give it time to dry so that I can prime it today, because I want to be able to color it tomorrow in preparation for Finishing Friday, which is my traditional Friday morning stream where I take the figures that I've been working on this week and add some highlights and finishing details to them to move them from mostly done to almost completely done. So for my basing grit, I'm just using Army Painter Brown Battleground. Simple stuff. You don't have to use a commercial grit. You can use sand, you can use whatever. I have this big tub of brown battleground and it's quite handy for this. I want to kind of keep it off the edges of the base because, I don't know, I like a clean edge to my base. There. So adding that lump there, it's less visible now because it's obviously got basing grit over it. But it just makes the base less flat. You don't want monotonous flat bases. do all 9 of these quickly. Just add some basic grit. I should have done this before attaching the skull. It's fine. It's fine. There. So I've not worked with flocking before, but I know the general theory of it, which is very similar to what I'm doing now, is that you find the areas you want the flocking to be on, and you just sort of put some glue on those areas, and then just like I'm doing with the basing grit here, you just add the flocking, and sort of press it into the glue. Not as thick as this, perhaps. This needs a teensy bit more on the edge here. There. So right now this stuff is on very loosely, the grit, but when I add a layer of primer over it, that'll help to solidify it onto the base. I've said before that this is the largest army I've worked on all at once. There's 9 of these Untamed Beasts in this Warcry set, and I'm kind of trying to get all 9 of them done. I started work on them last Tuesday, so a week ago yesterday, and we're making good progress on them. We just need a little bit more work. But I'm not used to doing quite so much, quite so fast. So doing 9 bases all on the same day, it's monotonous and time consuming, but not difficult, I don't think. I like that skull. That's going to look great when we're finished painting everything here. Is there a reason I use wood glue over regular Elmer's? I find it to be easier to sculpt. Elmer's glue is a little more watery. They're largely the same. But wood glue you can sculpt to a certain degree. Like if you want to fill in a gap or something, I feel like wood glue works a little bit better. Also, it's just the advice that I got from the Warhammer community when I started out doing this. Wood glue was the recommendation I got, and so it's sort of what I gravitate towards when I'm working on bases. But I don't think there's any reason you couldn't use just regular Elmer's. Keep in mind, chat, I am not an expert by any means. I consider myself very much a amateur painter who has like I say, I try to push myself to learn new techniques whenever I can, but I am not an expert or, you know, somebody you would go to for extensive painting advice. But I think that's how everybody starts out, right? I'd say even an expert who has been painting for years or decades would stress that they're still learning. I love this lion. It's going to be fun to do some finishing details on this. Got a lot of cool stuff molded into the model, cool textures. It'll be fun to work with when we get to the stage of doing the washes and the edges and stuff. I don't want to glue base and grit to the model so much. There we go.
Fight for your values and fight for your friends. Fight through this blight, find the light at the end. Through the age of the dragon, the people will talk of the day they were saved by a hero named Hawk.
A giant lump of grit. That's fine. It's fine. It's half of these figures done. It says so much time. I still got base coats to finish. It's okay. It's okay. Welcome, Warcry. Thank you for the follow. There. Sarah Elizabeth 106. Welcome, welcome. Man, I should have made noise in the Battleground Warhammer page earlier. This is great. We're definitely going to reach affiliate by the end of the month, folks. And that'll be Oh, gracious. That was a lot more glue than I was trying to get there. That'll be good for Painting Social Day. I hope folks will join me for that on the 31st. Because I think Painting Social Day is going to be a lot of fun. I thought about setting things up so that folks could actually stream their painting to the Discord channel, and I could actually feature other people painting on my channel during Painting Social Day. But sadly, the laptop that I'm using to run my stream lacks the horsepower to do that. I don't know if anybody watched our Extra Life 24-hour fundraiser last year, but it was, you know, mid-pandemic. So we did everything via Zoom calls and via stream and stuff. And some of it did not come out looking great. Just the process of capturing a Zoom call and then broadcasting it to Twitch requires a certain amount of oomph from your computer, and this computer was not sufficient to the task, and you can definitely tell in the VODs for that that stream. We did some fantastic things and we had a lot of fun, but very often the frame rate is very low. 2 more figures to go. Two more, and then I can work on the base coats for the last 2 of these Untamed Beasts, so that tomorrow I can work on doing the washes. I don't know if you folks can tell glancing at these. You probably can't from my stream, but a couple of these folks had to be re-based. I had to put them on new bases because when they were originally built in the store, and they were built very, very quickly over the course of an afternoon, a couple of them were put on the wrong size bases. So this particular individual is missing some toes because I had to snap him off of his base and reattach him to a different size base. Won't matter, because once I have the basing grit on there, you won't be able to see his toes so well anyways. But I'm glad I caught it before doing this, because it would be a lot harder to snap him off his base and put him on a new one. After doing all the basing grit. Okay. One more. I don't like how they're... I don't know about you folks, but I get obsessed with minor details. Like this piece of grit right there. It's sticking up at a weird angle. Why? Why are you doing that? There. Fixed it. So I don't know exactly what this stuff is made from. I think it's nut husks, I think. Like ground up nut husks. But it is very light, and it does have a tendency sometimes to stick up in the air in a very unnatural and strange way. So once I've got the basing grit on this little doober here, that will be the last of the basing grit that I want to take care of today, and we can get to painting. It's supposed to be a painting stream. I've got 2 more of these Untamed Beasts that have some stuff on their bodies, but I haven't completed their base coats yet. I want to complete those 2 base coats so that tomorrow I can concentrate on coloring the bases, because all of this, where I'm doing the basing grit, I'm going to need to prime that today so that tomorrow I can color it. I'm just going to color it brown. I'm going to make it a lighter brown than the bases on the Raptorix and Furies, but I'm going to just color it brown, and then on Friday, for finishing Friday, I can do final details. I'm going to do some flocking to these bases. I'm going to give them a sort of springy, summery undergrowth look. Okay. Done. For now. Alright, we're done with that. This is the guy who's missing a piece. You can see there's supposed to be a thing going from his hand here to here. There's the cable for his harpoon is busted. I'm probably going to have to manufacture something out of green stuff, just a little rope to go from there to there. I'm not looking forward to that because my sculpting skills are not good. But we're done with basing grit for today. Now we can concentrate on painting. Oh, this poor brush. I don't know about you folks, but definitely my brushes have a life cycle. They start out as brushes that I use for painting, and then they become brushes that I use for washes and less precise painting. And then eventually they reach this stage where they're only good for very inaccurate and sort of messy work. Alright, let's clean up my station here a little bit. Get a fresh palette out. And we have 2 figures that I want to finish the base coats on. Let's have some coffee. Oh, coffee. Oh man, good stuff. Let's the other way around. I need to get myself more palettes. For palettes, I am using wax paper. These are the backs of mailing labels from the store. We used to mail a lot of cards out from Battleground Games and Hobbies in Abington. We don't currently, because the post office is being very badly mismanaged, and as a result, if we mail cards, they don't arrive at their destinations in a timely manner. So we've suspended our online mailing system, but I still have several labels left over. And yeah, this is just the wax backing of a mailing label. Alright, so these are the 2 figures that I want to finish the base coats on today. And we've pretty much gotten where we wanted to get. I need to do the fur on this figure, all the toothy, talony bits here. I think that's all I really need to do on this figure. And then this one, again, fur. I've got to do the horns. And there's a couple little toothy, talony bits that I want to do as well. So it shouldn't take too long. For the toothy, talony bits, I'm using Deck Tan. It's a slightly grayish, bluish off-white. This is what I use as the base coat for all my Tau. But it is... I wanted a slightly different color than the color I had used for the bone on all these, which was a skeleton bone. That's one of the original paints that I got when I started painting about 3 years ago. I bought a painting kit. That skeleton bone has seen its day. We'll go to my favorite brush, my small layer brush. Bits there sticking out of these folks. Once I'm finished with the little base coaty bits that I'm working on now, I can prime all that base and grit I just stuck on. That's going to be a lengthy and slightly dull process. But I do want them primed before I go in tomorrow to color them in. So I joked before about this character who has got a tail on their outfit. I assume it is constructed, it looks like it's constructed from the spine of an animal, of a beast that they've perhaps slain or scavenged. And they're wearing their little skull hat. So I've joked that this particular character is a furry. Just an untamed fantasy for furry. I'm not going to color the cable on this whip. I'm just going to leave that primed in black, and then when we get to Friday to the finishing details, I'm going to add some highlights to it, just with a little dry brushing to make it make the texture on it come out. Well, I'm making some progress on all these little folks though. I will say, feel like I've been going a little faster than I normally go in painting these figures, and some of these base coats feel a little gloppy and uneven, which is fine. When we get to the wash, a wash covers up any number of irregularities. So for any of you in chat who are regulars at the Abington location of Battleground Games and Hobbies, this that I am painting is the Abington demo, the store demo for Warcry. So at some point, probably next month, we'll have a completely painted Warcry demo, and Kevin will be able to show that off during our Sigmar Sundays. So for anybody who's curious about Warcry or wants to see it in action, these figures will be available for you to play with whenever I'm done with them, which is probably by sometime next month. I've got a fair amount of terrain still to do. Terrain just never ends, or at least that's been my experience so far with Warcry. And I've only done half of the chaotic beasts, the Raptorix and Furies, so I still have to do the other 6 of those, 3 Raptorix and 3 Furies. But once I'm done with the terrain, the Raptorix, the Furies, and these Untamed Beasts that I'm working on right now, I've got base coats complete on the Iron Golems, so they're mostly done. They just need a little love, just finishing details and priming and stuff, or washes. But once I'm done with them, I'll have at least gotten some paint on all of the Warcry demo, and it will be ready to be played in the store. I'll admit, I have not played Warcry. I have only been painting the figures for like 2 months and haven't played it. Okay, good progress there. I'm going to... I want to attend to the very end of the tail there. I think I'm going to do that in the nice burgundy red that I have. That's this gorgeous Vallejo red. I love this stuff. Don't need much, just a tiny titch. At the very end of this tail here. I'm going to make it match the skirt. I'm glad I did all this basing grit and stuff today. It really does add so much to a model to add that stuff to the base. You know, a couple skulls, some basing grit. It's not super complicated to do, and it just brings so much to the model. Okay. that. Oh, I missed. Alright, I'm going to do fangs and talons on this one here. But think about facial detail on a couple of these pieces. I want to do that before I do washes. You may have seen my attempt at doing facial detail on one of the other Untamed Beasts that came out looking a little silly. I need to refine that, do a little more work on it. It's just one of those techniques that I'm trying to learn, trying to get a little better at. As I said earlier, this stream is all about trying new techniques, pushing myself to learn new things. And I've never painted. Well, I can't say I haven't painted figures with faces. My Tau, some of them don't have helmets, and I've painted faces on them. But they're not human faces, and I haven't attempted to do detailed eyeballs, really. My Tau, I can sort of cheat. They're blue-faced folk, and I can give them yellow eyes, and it looks fine. It's just, you know, it's fine. But these folks, they look human, so I wanted to give them human faces, and it's tricky. It's a challenge. So, something for me to work on. We'll see if I have time to do any of that. I doubt I'll be able to do anything with it today. So, I don't know. Tomorrow, like I said, is washes and coloring the bases. So, I may not be able to finish all 9 of these. In fact, I'm almost certainly not going to be able to finish all 9 of these on Friday. We'll see how much we can get done leading up to Friday. See how much I get done tomorrow in terms of preparation. I set myself ambitious goals, and then I don't always meet them. My goodness, loud truck outside. I'm painting with my windows open today for the first time since spring began, and pleasant as it is, does mean that the outside noise is a little bit louder. Cat hair. Like I said, this may be a cat-free room, but doesn't mean it is completely free of cat hair. So I'm finished with these little teeth. We'll work on fur, and then we'll dedicate the latter half of today's stream to putting primer down on all these bases. Just trying to give the grit time, the glue time to dry a little bit before I hit them with primer. But before I can color the bases in tomorrow, I need to prime them today. something on the face. Make him look less bland. I keep saying it and I keep not doing it, but I need to watch some YouTube makeup tutorials. I need to get some ideas for how to make contrasting and makeup and facial detail work. Get some basic makeup technique, because that's sort of going to be the basis for any work that I'm going to be doing on painting faces and stuff. And Lord knows there's plenty of good resources out there for folks who want to learn how to do makeup. And this is a weird thing that he's using as a weapon. I mean, it looks like a jaw. It certainly has jaw-like textures to it. But what kind of monstrous creature would have teeth pointing out at every weird angle like this? Maybe it's constructed from several jaws, but kind of seamlessly. It doesn't have any joins apparent. I don't know. It's weird. I don't think I would want to meet the monster that this jaw was harvested from. There. That is all the toothy bits. So now fur. So for the fur on these folks, I've been using two different shades. I've been using basalt gray. It's a nice dark blue charcoal gray. And I have been using castle gray, which is a lighter gray. This I got, again, from my first ever paint kit when I started painting minis. Like I said, about 3 years ago. And it's still mostly good today. So what I've been doing, and you can see it in the mane of the lion here, is I've been sort of doing the lighter gray in the front and darker gray in the back. And they blend pretty seamlessly there. When I get the wash on, the blend will be even better. And then I can just do highlights to sort of make the texture pop. That's a Friday thing. I keep looking at the skull on this base and thinking, I should paint that. And then realizing, oh no, wait, I still have to prime it first. This is It irks me that I have this completely unpainted piece of plastic here. It'll be painted by Friday. We'll get there, folks. We'll get there. I haven't done a lot of painting of fur. Tau, not known for wearing a lot of fur. So I haven't had a lot of practice in this. But it seems to me it should be relatively simple. There's a lot of cool texture that the sculptor has done. So the work's already been done for me. I just go in and it should, I believe, be relatively simple to highlight the texture of the fur through just doing a wash and highlights on Friday. I'm more concerned with doing details on all the skin here. So I'm going to want to go in and highlight some of the muscles and stuff. And that was where I was having the most difficulty on my Furies. I was doing that sort of detail. Some of that darker gray out. I love this gray. This is just a gorgeous color. Good paint. It's a brand new American dream for me and you. Amanda's back with groceries. Hello, Amanda. That means I have lunch waiting for me, probably. This character, I need to do a little work on the horns too. So I've chosen to do the horns in a lightish brown. I'm using cork brown for the horns, and it doesn't look great. The problem is, with these characters, I'm working in a palette of browns and grays. And eventually you run out of browns and grays. I wanted something that would contrast with the yellows and whites of the fangs and talons and stuff. It'll look a lot better with the wash, I think. Because these horns definitely have some texture to them. They've got some cool detail. And when I do the wash, that will become apparent, and then I can choose a different color than the brown for the highlights. So they'll look better ultimately. They just look a little weird in the base coat stage. I often say this, and it always holds true. The base coat is the ugliest coat. And ironically, it's the one that takes the most time to do. For me, at least. I spend a lot of time choosing my color palette and trying to get the base coat as neatly done as I can. And it ends up looking very bland. But that's how a base coat is going to be. It's just that sort of disheartening moment when you look at the figure and you're like, oh geez, I've spent hours on this, why does it look so garbage? And then you put the wash on and suddenly all the details that you've painted over with the base coat come to life, and it's like, oh, well, okay, that's not quite so bad. And then a little dry brushing later, and the figure actually looks fairly decent. But I don't think I have ever finished a base coat and looked at it and said, ah, it looks really good. That figure is looking great. Usually I finish the base coat and I'm like, oh god, I'm bad at painting. And I'm getting a lot of that vibe from these particular folk. Just, it's not what I want it to look like, but that's fine. Yeah, base coats always look flat. That base coat is done. This one needs just that little band of fur there. And then I'm going to try and get some primer onto some of these bases that I added this grit to. And this guy has a tiny bit of leather that I didn't paint. Try and address that. Should be very, very quick. I will say I'm quite happy with the sort of two-tone effect that I've gotten onto some of these furs. It was a simple thing to do. And it came out looking great.
Light my face. The river's current flows inside each act of grace. Walk the garden, breathe the scent of life.
Okay, so that's the fur on this one done.
Comfort in my tiny paradise.
Glopped it down a little thick there, but that's fine.
Lonely hearts to hear. And when forever comes to be, will I remain
Cool. Cool. Alright. So, I might want to do a little work on the face for this one. But I think otherwise, pretty much done. I was going to catch that little bit of leather on the chest.
The warmest smile, a waiting hand, a
That I'm
friend
using
to free a heart
flat
to
brown.
help you understand. Through life and
Just a very
loss,
dark brown that
through
I've got.
thick and thin, we'll help each other face the pain that we are in. Eyes of grief are ever watching me. Lonely rooms and broken ties. Plots and plans to pluck the
There.
petals free.
Done. Alright,
Them of their golden shine.
what time is it? 11:30? Gives me a half an hour to work on priming. Put this brush away. For this, I don't need as much accuracy.
Keep me inside.
There we go. For my priming, I'm going to use this, my Wargamer Regiment brush. It's a big, thick-ended brush. So, good for when I want quick coverage. And got my Vallejo surface primer. It'll take like half an hour to get this mashed around on the bases of these folk.
Comes to be, will I remain inside?
It's a very thin paint, this surface primer.
A little light of empathy
But very dark and perfect for base detailing.
keep me inside.
Hopefully, this grit has had time to adhere to the bases. This will help with that as well. Just adding the primer is another layer on the base, so it sort of helps to glue down some of the basic grit that I've already stuck in. But I feel this was a quite productive stream. We got base and grit on 9 figures. That's pretty impressive, right? We added a couple of skulls for funsies. Tomorrow I'll paint these bases and just color them quickly. And we'll do washes on all these figures. And that will move them a lot closer to done. A couple of them, I'm going to do a little bit of face painting. That's going to be tricky. So that's going to be a little nerve-wracking. But we'll work on that tomorrow. I can spend all night stressing about it. And then tomorrow we'll see what we can do. Trying to balance that desire to have some more detail on the faces, but not end up with them looking too cartoonish, which is what I've been encountering when I've tried to do faces. I'm probably going to paint over and restart the face on this figure here. Not all of it. I'm happy enough with the lips, but the eyes need work. Like I said, a little too cartoonish. So I'll think about what I want to do, and we'll try tomorrow to make it a little less weird looking. As always, it's a learning process. This stream is all about refining technique, learning new things, trying out new ideas, and definitely the faces on these figures are one of those challenges that I have to figure out how I'm going to address. But we'll get there. So tomorrow's going to be a lot of fun. Washes especially. I've been talking all week about how I believe the wash is going to make these pieces look. So tomorrow we'll find out if I'm right when we get to adding the wash and seeing what it does to all the textures that are sculpted into these pieces. My suspicion is that the addition of the wash is going to take all of the bits that look sort of out of place and make them feel more uniformly part of the model. It's going to bring out a lot of the detail in the model. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then of course Friday is when we get in and start to do dry brushing and edges and call attention to all the little details that are already there. But they're sort of, when you do a thick base coat like I've done, they're less evident. Not too thick. It's trying to leave a gap here under the horn. There we go. It's a little better. But yeah, the detail is already in the sculpt. The sculptor did all the work. It's just my job as a painter to find that detail, call attention to it. At least that's how I view my goal when I'm painting. Really make these pieces come to life. Water slowly turning black. Well, this was a fun stream. I enjoy doing bases. I enjoy adding to the scenery and making the pieces feel a little bit more organic. It's also the closest I come to actually doing sculpting. I don't do kit bashing and stuff like that. Maybe it's actually 100% something that I'm planning to do during these streams as a way to push myself as an artist. But I don't do a lot of kit bashing or sculpting. So the closest I get is what I did today, which is adding details to bases with skulls and whatnot. When I was working on the Furies, for example, man, I had a lot of fun messing with the bases on the Furies. Actually, a sec. This one here, there's like a skeleton coming up out of the ground at it. That was so much fun to do. And I think it adds a lot to the piece. So, I have fun doing bases. Now these pieces don't have just plain black circles that they're standing on. They have something a little more interesting. And when I get in and paint it, it'll be even better. And I'm planning to do some flocking on these bases, which is something I have little experience with, so that's again something I get to do to push myself. Constantly trying to do new things. I need more primer. And again, I hope folks will be able to join me a week from next Monday for my Memorial Day Community Art Day, when we're going to hang out in my Discord. Everybody's going to share whatever art they're working on. Doesn't have to be minis. My good friend and moderator, one of my chat moderators, Insidious Pie, she does knitting and she makes bracelets and necklaces. So perhaps she'll be able to show some of that off in my Discord. I have this Stormcast Eternal figure that I'm going to be painting. Like I said, I'm going to experiment with non-metallic metal, light sourcing, various techniques like that that I haven't had a lot of practice with. So that's going to be exciting and fun to play with. And all that is happening on Memorial Day, the 31st. So I hope folks can be here for that and participate. If you go by the Abington location of Battleground Games and Hobbies, we have a number of those Stormcast Eternal figures available. And you can pick one up. We may be doing a painting competition using those at some point in the next couple of months, next month or so. So maybe this would be an opportunity to get a head start on that. I love some of these skulls that I decided to stick in here. They're just fun. Wow, I'm messing with primer. There are parts of this whip that I want to touch up. There. Because I'm leaving the whip and the rope for the harpoon black, and just using dry brushing to make some highlights on them. So many of these figures. It never ends. This harpoon. Alright, so I've got 4 more figures after this to do priming on the bases. Shouldn't take too long. But I think we're going to begin to wend towards the closing of today's painting stream. I feel quite accomplished with what I got done today. All of the basing grit and adding some skulls, giving these folks some personality on their bases. We finished base coats on 2 more, so all 9 of these folks now have completed base coats, which means tomorrow I can start work on washes. That should not be a super time-consuming process, and I look forward to witnessing the results, because I feel like it's going to really help to bring some life to these characters. Maybe we'll have time to do some facial detailing. I'm nervous about that, but it's going to be fun nonetheless, and obviously interesting to get some practice in on. But I think we're getting close to wrapping up on today. Thank you for all the new follows. That was spectacular, and brings me much closer to my goal of reaching affiliate by the end of this month. We might be able to make it, folks. It's going to be tight. It's going to be close. A little bit of a nail biter, but I think we might be able to make it. We'll see. And if we do make it, it's because of you. The folks who followed today, and anybody who helps to tell other people about the stream, spread the word. Every day, a little bit closer. So thank you, everybody who followed today. I hope you were entertained watching me play around with these bases, seeing some of these figures as they get a little bit closer to done. I always say, my goal with these streams is to do a little bit of painting each day and improve my abilities, my talents, push myself to do new things, experiment with new techniques. But I am, at heart, essentially a very lazy person. And if I didn't have you folks hanging out in chat, keeping me company, making this whole process as fun as it is, I probably wouldn't be getting all this painting done. So, thank you to you, all you folks out there in chat, all you followers, all the people watching the VOD or the YouTube archive. It is all of you that make this as fun and as engaging as it is for me, and hopefully as it is for you. You make this possible by keeping me company, by providing me with a reason to do all this painting. I don't do a lot of painting if I don't have some encouragement, and definitely I've been getting a lot of encouragement just from knowing that there's folks hanging out with me and watching. Every day I feel I'm getting a little bit better. Every day, my ability improves. It just takes practice, and were it not for you folks, I would not be getting all of this practice. So again, thank you so much. Got 2 more figures to go. And then we're going to call it a day for today. I'm going to go have myself some lunch. Maybe play a little bit of Mass Effect. I have to go to Battleground. With luck, the new D&D book that was supposed to arrive yesterday arrives today. We had very many disappointed customers yesterday who came in for their new D&D book. This is the new Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. Very, very popular. I knew it was going to be hugely popular. And it's very frustrating that it ended up getting delayed. But hopefully today, when I get to Battleground, it will be waiting for me. I can start contacting folks to come pick it up. Oh my goodness, somebody do something about that car alarm. I hope it's not me. As soon as I'm finished with this, I guess I'm going to have to look out the front window and see if that's my car that's going off. Oh, it stopped. One more. It's amazing how easy it is to add just a little base and grit to a figure, and what a difference it makes in terms of the feel of the base. Like, this is not a complex process. And you folks watched me do it. You saw how easy it was to do. It took just a few minutes for each base. And yet it has such impact. Oops. A little bit of primer on the bits I've already painted, that's fine. Alright, so wrapping up for today. Thank you everybody for joining me. This was a very productive stream, and I really enjoyed hanging out with you folks. There. Progress. Tomorrow should be a great stream. Tomorrow we're going to do, we're going to put some paint on all these bases that we did today, that I just finished priming. We're going to do the wash on all 9 figures. Should be a pretty quick process, I hope. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes with the washes tomorrow. And then, of course, Friday. Finishing Friday. My favorite day of the week. And I hope folks will join me for Finishing Friday, when we're going to do some highlights and do some finer detail. Do some dry brushing. All those things that move the figure from looking mostly done, to done. So we'll get there on Friday. So the next couple of days are going to be fantastic. Thank you everybody who joined me. Everybody out there, be excellent to each other and enjoy whatever art it is you choose to do. Have a great day, folks.